welcome to my physical therapy office. My name is Calliope. If you'd like, you can just come in and get comfortable, right? Let me just pull up your file. It's a bit windy out there, isn't it? You'll have to excuse the ambient noises. Our office is seated in a building that's about 150 years old, so the windows rattle a bit during these very blustery days. Right? Okay, so let me see. All right. So, would you mind just confirming your name and date of birth for me? Very good. All right. And is that your preferred name? And how do you like to be addressed? Okay. Excellent. So, what exactly am I seeing you for today? What reason were you sent to my office? Okay, so we have some concerns about carpal tunnel and possibly tendonitis. Would you mind, in your own words, describing to me what your symptoms are like? I, of course, know what carpal tunnel is and what tendonitis looks like, but I really want to hear how it is affecting you, how you are experiencing these symptoms. Okay? Just going to be noting this down as we go along. Okay. All right. Okay. And is this primarily in your left wrist, your right, or both of them? Okay, and is one more severe than the other? Right. And what about the tendonitis? Okay. All right. When did these symptoms start for you? It doesn't have to be an exact date. You can give me a ballpark number. Okay. All right, so quite a bit of time. Okay. And from 1 to 10, how intense are the symptoms? With 1 being no pain, 10 being the worst pain you've ever experienced. Okay. And when the pain is at its worst, what number, 1 through 10, would you say that would be? Okay. All right. And have you found what makes your symptoms worse? Okay. And what about better? Are there any particular things that you've noticed make your symptoms better? Okay. So have you tried any sort of remedies for these symptoms? Whether it's medicine or ice, heat, Anything of that sort? Okay. Very good. And would you mind describing the type of pain you're experiencing? For example, does it spasm? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Does it radiate? Does it zing? Anything like that. Okay. Right, very good. And would you mind just pointing to me on either of your arms where exactly this pain is the worst? Okay. And then where do you find it radiates to? Where are the boundaries of that pain? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And we had discussed a little bit about what makes your symptoms worse, but specifically, what kind of activities are you doing regularly that have been exacerbating this pain? Like, do you do a lot of writing? Or do you use scissors a lot? Do you knit or crochet? Do you text a lot? Things of this nature. Okay. Okay. All right, I see. Okay. Well, that's going to be the last of my questions for now. So what I'd like to do is I want to take a little examination of your hands, your wrists, your forearms, a little bit of your upper arms as well, around the elbow, okay? So I'm going to sanitize my hands real quick. And I'd like to ask your permission to take a look at your arms and touch you. Is that okay with you? Okay, I have your permission to do that. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look first at your right arm. So I assume the pain is more prevalent in your dominant hand, is that correct? Okay, so I'm going to look at the hands here. I'm just going to be pressing around. You just let me know if there's any pain or tenderness, all right? Sometimes when we're dealing with carpal tunnel, we get that zinging pain up into the fingers. Okay, just feeling around. Turn over your hand. I like to look around just in general at the surrounding tissues as well. See if there are any other problems arising. Doesn't surprise me that you're experiencing symptoms of tendinitis as well as carpal tunnel. These can often go hand in hand based on the repetitiveness that causes the carpal tunnel, as well as the positioning that can cause carpal tunnel and tendinitis. going to feel around the wrists here. A little sore. Okay. It almost feels like you have a permanently pulled muscle, right? Yeah, it's not a fun condition to have. We see it quite often due to typing, and a lot among younger people due to texting. So it's pretty common, but that doesn't make it any less fun to deal with. Okay, so I'm gonna come down into the bigger muscles of your forearm here. How are these feeling? Okay, so I can feel that tightness in those muscles pretty good. Oftentimes with carpal tunnel, we'll feel these muscles lock up. We'll see a lot of tenderness and soreness here. I'm just going to feel around the elbow as well. Any pain, any tenderness here? No, not so much. Okay. Let's go ahead and... Gosh, you hear that? It's just crazy weather, huh? That's the thing about having warm days in spring. The only reason they're warm is because it's windy. The wind's bringing all that warmth down from the south. So let's feel around your upper arm. Okay, so that's tender there. All right. So a bit along the biceps as well. Okay. All right, so I've got a little bit of a good look on that arm. Let's go ahead and flip over. I'm just going to feel around your hands first. Remember to tell me if there's any pain or tenderness. Okay, nothing so far. All right, good. I'm just going to flip over your hand. Joints look good. Not seeing anything there. Back of the hand, it's all right. Okay, let's look at the wrist a little bit. Okay, so that's sore too. That doesn't surprise me. If I go, okay, right along that, the ulna, that's pretty tight. What about around the radial area, your radius here? Not too bad. Okay, and that muscle there, just feeling into that. So definitely not as much tightness, but that ulnar area, yeah, that's very tight right there. Okay. Right, and let's feel around by the elbow here. Okay, nothing, just maybe a bit of soreness there. Okay. Right, and into the biceps. A little bit. Oh, okay. So that's quite sore right there, right in the underside. Okay, and that's going along that same line as the ulna. So right up into the humerus as well. Okay, yeah, that's pretty tight. All right, so we're gonna do a little range of movement, okay? I want you to tell me if you feel any sensations. So again, when we're looking at carpal tunnel, we have that soreness, and sometimes we can get the zinging feeling. Sometimes our hands, our fingers feel a little numb as well, okay? So you just let me know. I'm going to start on the other side here. So I'm just going to take your hand. We're just going to rotate the wrist a bit. Okay, how's that? All right, it's tight, but not necessarily painful. Okay. Right, and what if we pull the hand forward? Okay. All right, tight but not painful. What if we cock it backwards? Okay, it doesn't want to go very far, huh? All right, so we have more limited range of movement with this. Okay. And I'm gonna do your fingers here. I'm just gonna pull them back. Ooh, okay. So that's pretty sore. Okay, so fingers, little bit of a limited range of movement. Okay. Right, and if we go forward with them, is there any problem? No, not really. Okay, that's just fine. Right. And let's just move your arm around, okay? Just gonna move up and down. Any issues here? Okay, if I'm just doing a little bit of rotation here. Any issues here? Okay, very good. And now I want you to make a fist for me. How does that feel? Okay, I'm going to have you bring that fist forward. How's that? Maybe a little tight, okay? What about if we go back? Okay, that's pretty tight. All right. And can you grip that fist? Hold it as tight as you can. Okay, go ahead and release. Do you feel that tightness? Okay. All right, I see. Let's go ahead and go to your other arm here. So let's rotate the wrist a bit. How was that? Nothing so far? Okay. And if we bend that hand forward, okay, not too much. If we cock it back, okay, so it almost just feels like it's a bit shorter, not necessarily tense, but maybe a bit of tightness, shortness in the tendon there, yeah. Okay, let's do your fingers here. Go back. What's that? Not too bad. Okay. We go forward. Nothing here. That's good. That's good. All right. And let's go ahead and just feel around and rotate the arm a bit. Okay, anything here? Not so much. Right, very good. And can you make a fist for me? If we go forward, okay, it's a little tight. And if we go back, yeah, again, has that tense feeling. Okay, and can you hold that fist as hard as you can? All right, so right up in that muscle, the forearm, that's pretty tight. Okay, you release your fist. Okay? So I'm going to take a few notes over what I've seen so far. All right, so now we're going to move on to the actual physical therapy bit, okay? So we're going to be doing a little bit of massage just to loosen up some of that really, really tense muscle areas, okay? We're going to try to get them to release a little because they're pretty tight, okay? So I have some light lotion here. It's not going to feel very greasy. It just has enough slide that I can get into the muscles without really pulling at the skin, okay? So there's going to be a lot of pressure involved and it can get uncomfortable. What I'm trying to do is I'm encouraging those muscles to release. So they're so compressed and tight. Usually your muscles, they're active and then they're inactive, right? But your muscles are pretty much stuck in that active stage. And we want to physically make them realize that they can be in the inactive stage, okay? All right, so let's get a little bit of lotion here. We're gonna start with just a little bit. And let's go ahead and start around the hands here. So often we find at the base of the thumb and the base of the pinky, right by the wrist, these areas can become very tight and tense. And especially along the thumb, we might get that real tense muscle where it's very stiff. The thing with carpal tunnel is it's your nerves being compressed and it causes all sorts of neurological symptoms, the numbness, the tingling, the pain. So we need to open that area up a little bit, and then we'll be discussing ways that we can help relieve that pressure on those nerves, relieve the pain, allow it to heal. Okay, we're going to come into the wrist. And yeah, this can be uncomfortable. I know when I said massage, you might have been expecting something real gentle and relaxing, but this is more of a medical massage or a therapeutic massage. It's more like deep tissue work. Ooh, right in the side there, right along the ulna. Yeah, that's a tense spot. So I'm not sure if you do it, but in the future, one way to help reduce pressure on your ulnar nerve is, let me show you. So we have a phone, right? And oftentimes When we're holding our phone with our pinkies supporting the phone, and that's really creating a lot of pressure and a lot of stiffness in that ulnar nerve. So it's much better to hold your phone with a grip just around it rather than underneath. Even better would be putting your phone on a surface and not gripping it the entire time, because that can also contribute to these injuries. I'm going to grab a little bit more lotion. Just want enough to lubricate the surface. We're not trying to make it a slip and slide. There we go. So we're going to see a lot of erythema here. There's going to be a lot of redness. Get a little bit of squeezing in there, squeezing up and down the ulna. That's going to be sore for a while. Okay, and let's get that big muscle right here. Take a little bit of work. There we go. Yeah, that one is in a pretty much permanent state of contraction. There we go. Okay. Yep, and even right next to the elbow. That's a good spot too. We're going to give that a nice squeeze, and we're telling these muscles to release. They don't have to be contracted anymore. Ooh. Yep, that one's really tense, especially right up to the elbow there. Come around here, and even right above the elbow. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. It's gonna be sore. It's almost like trigger point therapy, where you press down in an area until it begins to soften, till it begins to release. That's what we're doing. I know it's uncomfortable, but that means that it's working. I'm really feeling into the muscles, and they're telling me how far I can go. And they're allowing me to sink in. I'm not ever going to press to a point where it's painful and there's no therapeutic benefit, okay? But getting those muscles to soften up when they've been so stuck for so long takes a bit of patience. What about on the ulnar side? Not much. Okay. So these muscles have softened up quite a bit. In future visits, we'll keep working at it, all right? We're going to keep checking in on that and working on that bit by bit. Okay? So let's work on the range of movement a little bit, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push your hand back. So I want you to lay your arm flat. I'm going to push your hand back so that it's at a 90-degree angle. We're going to do this very gently. We're going to hold this for a few seconds and give you a nice deep stretch, okay? There we go. Good. I'll let you rest. We're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Okay. Let's do that with each finger. Just going to pull back on each finger. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Go ahead and just clench and clench. Wiggle your fingers a little bit if you need to. That's good. Okay. And now I'm going to have you flip over. I'm going to bring your wrist forward here, okay? And just very gently, this one's a little easier for you. 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Okay. Very good. Now let's move on to the other arm here. A little bit of lotion. And let's work on those hands. So this is probably the more pleasant part of the experience, huh? There we go. This should feel so much better when we're done. Physical therapy is wonderful for helping to relieve the pain and lessening it over time. And it's great for taking care of those tissues as much as we can. That thumb doesn't seem to be as painful as the other one, which is good. Just a little bit. Right? Let's go into the wrist. Yep. Right there. There we go. Get just a little bit more lotion here. There we go. Focus on that. Little bit right there. I'm gonna keep working on this until I feel those muscles give in a little bit and relax. That's the main point, is just to relax, 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 relax. There we go. The other side. Okay, it's not too bad until we get up to that bigger muscle, right? This one's not too bad though. I think it'll be a little easier to work through than our other arm. Yeah. How are you doing so far? How's that other arm feel? Yeah, oftentimes it feels quite warm. There's a little bit more looseness to it. It's a bit of a strange feeling, especially when you're dealing with this pain. Sometimes it almost feels like the frog in a pot analogy, where it's just been incrementally getting worse over time, and you don't notice how bad it's gotten until it's really bad. So then when we're chipping away bit by bit, then it's so strange the relief we feel, because we've felt that dysfunction as our normal for so long, right? Yeah. There we go. So up by the elbow is not nearly as bad as the other one. Getting a little bit of resistance on this arm. That's okay. We just work with the muscle. We work with your body. If we force it too much, then it won't help. So we're just being gentle but firm about it. There we go. There we go. Let's check in on the other side. Right, so right above the elbow there. Good. Oh. Okay, so if I press there, it's got a bit of the zinging. Okay. That's where I can see we might have that tendinitis. But I think right now it'll be a lot easier to treat. I think we've got this fairly early. So we can do some exercises, we can work on it with our PT, and then we can keep that from getting to a point where it's really, really bothering you. Okay, if we're working around the arm. Okay, so we'll start in a little bit there. So we'll talk a little bit about some ways to treat and manage the pain, okay? I want to be clear that there's nothing that's going to cure these sorts of things, but we can find, I don't want to say remission, but we can find a point where it's more just a quirk rather than something that's deeply affecting you. It's one of those things you deal with on occasion. And the more we keep up with the PT, the more we keep up with our exercises, we can really make it a very manageable condition. And should it become any worse, we have more options, okay? I don't want you to feel like there are no options. There's tons of different things we can do, okay? Right now we're going to focus on what's going on now, and we'll talk about other treatments should things get worse. Okay, so go ahead and do a little bit of stretching here. Have you lay your arm flat on the table here. Just going to pull back. 1, 2, 3, and rest. Pull back on the fingers. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Pull back on the fingers. 1, 2, 3. Rest. And I'll pull back on each individual finger. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. Let's flip the arm over. And I'm going to pull back on the hand again. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Rest. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Okay. So let's talk about some management and some exercises we can do. Okay? So I'm going to show you some different exercises we can do, and we're going to start with, let's do 5 to 6 times a day, okay? It seems like a lot. Maybe you should think about setting an alarm to do them, or do them before and after your major meals, things of that nature. But we're going to start with that. It's going to be a little difficult in the beginning, but even after a few days, you'll often notice that little by little, it's starting to get much easier, okay? So we'll have a few exercises, and I'll just show you those real quick. So first we're going to start with your palm down, and then we're going to raise your hand and pull your fingers back. We're going to do this a couple of times. Pull your fingers back. Stretch the muscle in your arms. Good. And then we're going to do that same motion, except this time we're going to pull each individual finger backwards. Okay? And now we're going to flip our hand down and stretch it down. Stretch down, push against your hand. Not so much that you're overexerting, but enough that you're stretching. And this time we're going to just have your wrist hang down off of a surface, and keeping your arm flat, you're going to make a fist, drop it, and lift up. Drop, lift up. Drop, and lift up. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about other things that we can do. So, one thing that's pretty helpful is I have a splint here. So this has 3 little buckles here, and they can tighten around the arm. So just put your arm inside, and what it does is it stabilizes your wrist so that you're not keeping it like this, where we exacerbate that compression. Keeps it straight. So we make sure that that's that that's firm so that you can't do too much bending there. So this is great for if you're typing, if you're texting, playing video games, or if you do any knitting or crocheting, if you use scissors. This is good for all of those. You can also wear these when you're sleeping. I would maybe loosen it up just a little bit, but sometimes we sleep at pretty odd angles, and that can wear on our joints as well. So this is something that I would recommend because you can think about keeping your wrist stable as much as you want, but then sometimes we forget and keep it cocked one way or the other. We don't realize. This just takes that guesswork out of it completely. Okay? Right? So next we have ice. So ice is going to be one of your absolute best friends. Not only does it numb the area, but it helps reduce all that inflammation in your wrist, okay? So if you have an ice pack, one of those squishy ones, or even a bag of frozen vegetables, something along that nature, a plastic bag full of ice cubes, just whatever you have on hand, and you can put that on the wrist area. I have a big ice bag that I usually will start right around here, and then when that's gone numb or it's a little too much, then I'll put it along this muscle, and then when that goes, then I'll put it right along here. So I believe it's about 20 minutes that you can put ice on your skin. You'll want a barrier as well, whether that's a paper towel or a rag or a towel, something of that nature, just to keep it from damaging the skin. So you can do about 20 minutes at a time. Again, as I said, I usually will do until it starts going numb, switch to a different spot, Okay? So ice is going to be awesome for you. You can also do over-the-counter meds, so anti-inflammatories, generally, like ibuprofen. So another thing you may find relief from is CBD products. Some people do, some people don't, but they're a lot more common than they used to be, and it's not going to get you high, I promise. Even if you take a good amount of CBD, it's going to feel like you pretty much just took some ibuprofen. So it's not really going to get you contact high, okay? And that can help relieve some of that pain. There are also different types of analgesics, like there's lidocaine, or they have absorbine as well. All sorts of liniments and ointments that help with that pain. You can put on around your elbow, around your wrist, okay? So we have those exercises, we have the ice, we have the splint. Another thing we want to do is definitely rest. We want to make sure that you're getting a lot of rest with those muscles, with those joints. So carpal tunnel and tendonitis, they are often caused by the repetitive motion, like squeezing, typing, texting, all those repetitive motions. I even just felt a zing in my wrist doing that. So we want to limit those sorts of deals. I'm not saying get rid of them. For example, I love crocheting, but to make sure that my wrists and my elbows are healthy, I can only do it for about 30 minutes at a time, and then I go do something else that doesn't involve that sort of motion, right? So doing something else, washing the dishes, or just hanging out, then that helps a lot. You also may have to limit those activities, so maybe do it every other day, every couple of days, okay? Especially during flare-ups. And another thing we can look at is positioning. So with the splint, it helps to remember to keep your wrist stable and straight. You also want to make sure that you're not holding up your arms. For example, if you would be crocheting, you don't want to hold up your arms the whole time and do that. You want to make sure that they're resting. Maybe use some pillows or some sort of bolster so that you're not just holding that up all the time. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on your muscles. Okay? All right. So, a lot of information. Luckily, I have a handout. Okay? This is going to have all of our instructions here. Okay. So, I'm going to see you back here in a week. Okay? I think that we will get a lot done should you keep up on the exercises and making sure that your arms get a lot of rest. Okay? So all this pain that you're feeling, all this stiffness, it's not going to be forever. We'll get it fixed. We'll work on it. Okay? All right. You have any questions for me? Okay. If you have any questions at all, you can call the office and we'll get those answered as soon as we can. All right? Okay. So this is yours and I'll see you in a week. Thank you so much for coming to my office. I hope that we can get you feeling much better pretty quickly. Okay? So I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Goodbye now. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like this video if you want to. Comment if you'd like to. And subscribe